Hello there. Welcome to another episode of Nerds with Badges. Today is June the 1st, 2025. Another month flew by so fast. It's like I blinked and May was over with. I've been having some issues with this laptop, and I actually figured out what was going on before when I was doing some videos before and it kept cutting off because I was running out of space. I did not know. So now I've cleared a lot of stuff off of this Chromebook Plus, this Asus Chromebook Plus I've been using now for, I think I've had this for a couple of years. Been pretty reliable, actually. A nice little machine you can use for just regular tasks. But the Chromebook Plus they added some AI features, and also they really added some really cool features for doing videos and stuff. So they need to work on the gaming aspect of the laptops, these laptops though, because there are a lot of Android games I guess you can play, but I really wish that Google had kept their what was it, Stadia, which was a lot like what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass and what PlayStation is doing with their streaming. But I guess Google just didn't have any, they didn't really have any big IPs. And so after like 2 years, they shuttered the service. It was such a great idea. You could stream games on any device, and you start playing on your phone, go home on your smart TV, pick up where you left off at seamlessly. The controllers connected through the internet, so you had like better response. It was a really good idea. I think it might have been, well, it was ahead of its time because everybody else is doing what Google is doing right now with the cloud services. It's just that Google they have a habit of just starting things and then just dropping it. When stuff is not really working out that good, they just will abandon the project. So it was. I used it. I bought one of those Chrome. You call it the little devices that let you stream anything from it. My God. And then I had the controllers, the Stadia controllers. They were really nice. I bought a few games. I don't remember how many games I bought. I may have bought about maybe 3 or 4 games, if that many. But they were games that you got for subscribing to their streaming service. They were games that you got in your library, similar to what Microsoft is doing. Or you could just buy games that you wanted. But you couldn't download any games, which sucked. You couldn't download any games to play offline. But it was really cool. I was able to play AAA games on my laptops that might not have been that powerful, but the payload is being handled somewhere else. And you're just basically your computer or whatever device you're using. When you're using the cloud, your device is acting as like a TV. Just think of it as a TV, receiving a free transmission from somewhere, like when you watch the TVs with the receivers or the converters. Before Obama, they were working on changing the TV signal to make it better quality, and so they did it during Obama's term. I think it was shortly during or maybe before, but he gave everybody like vouchers to get the converters, because before you could just get a TV and you just put the antenna and you just get stuff you could watch on your TV, any monitor with a any TV really just had an antenna built into it, and you can get free stuff. You get more powerful antenna, you got better access, more range. But then they changed the signal, so you had to get a converter to be able to access the free stuff, which is really not. There's not a lot of good stuff available to watch for free. I shouldn't say that. There is some good stuff, depending on your signal, because I can't really get a lot of channels with the converter and the antenna that I use. I can get some, like the local channels, but like I can't get KTLA. I live here in Los Angeles, and I can't get KTLA, which is like the free channel, but I have to get basically I have to use internet if I want to watch KTLA, which is kind of crazy. So I have to pay to watch, free. There are some programs you can watch. Got ABC, you know. I think CBS is there. I think NBC is, but some of those stations don't come in that good. Some people think it's not exactly an accident that some of these signals are sucky, and you're just kind of forced to get either cable or have an internet. They don't even have cartoons anymore, Saturday morning cartoons, unless you watch some of the older stations that come on that you can get for free have old, like really old cartoons. But like all the newer stuff is on, like you have to get an app. If you want to watch cartoons, you want to watch the new cartoons, you need like Disney Plus, you need Crunchyroll. Trying to think what else is there. I guess is it Funimation, but they really have made it almost to the point where you have to have internet. You probably need at least Netflix if you really want to have a good access to stuff, but because Netflix has a really good, they have a really good variety of programs. Disney and some of the other studios have taken a lot of their stuff off of Netflix. Netflix has just exploded with their content. They have such a wide variety of stuff. They have some Disney stuff, but like all the superhero stuff, it's just gone. So if you want to watch certain shows, you might have to get HBO, you might have to have Showtime for this, and you might need Peacock for something else, so this just sucks. Unless you're buying your content, if you have to watch it, if you got to watch The Last of Us, you got to get HBO Max. Is it Max now? Because I think they changed it back. But anyway, so this is going to be an interesting week. The Switch 2 comes out, and I'm excited. I would like to get one. I don't really know what my chances are. I don't really think my chances are good unless all these people that have been complaining about the Switch 2 and some of the things that Nintendo is doing, you see if they speak with their wallets, because then maybe there might be a better chance of getting one if they don't sell out everywhere. So I'm not like hoping that they don't. I mean, I don't have any. I like Nintendo. I mean, I love Nintendo. I've been gaming on Nintendo consoles for like forever, since like the 80s. I think the very first console I had actually might have been, no, it was an Atari with the controller and the red button. But I did get a Nintendo NES sometime when I was living in New York. I don't know if I bought one or someone gave it to me, but the very first console I ever owned was actually a ColecoVision, which was, it was a lot similar to the Nintendo and Sega situation. ColecoVision had the better system, was more powerful, but Nintendo, has like, they had all the games. They had the bigger library, I guess. So it was Nintendo and Sega. Nintendo had the better, they had the more powerful system, but Sega was more popular. A lot of that had to do with Sonic the Hedgehog and the sports games running better on the Genesis because of the processor. Processor was faster on the Genesis. So it's kind of one of those weird things that happened during the 90s, that Sega and Nintendo were just going back and forth. So yeah, I've always liked Nintendo games, but some of the business practices that they've been engaging in lately, some of the things that they've been doing, it just kind of made me like, it's like you might love your parents, but you don't always get along. You might, really enjoy your job, but sometimes you may come to conflict with your bosses and things, So it's the same thing, I guess. And I guess like with anything else, sometimes you have to part ways. The $80 game, I don't know. Mario Kart, it looks like it's going to be something special, but um, I don't know. I guess I'm just like in my mind, I'm thinking like, what are they going to offer with this game? I mean, it's an open world racer. Looks really cool. Looks better than the regular Switch. I guess it's running better because it's got the guts are more powerful. But what else are they offering? They better be giving a lot of like free DLC for that $80. I'm telling you, I don't want to get nickel and dimed, and these subscription services are just like, my God. Uh, so I don't know how long they're going to support this game, but it's Mario Kart. The Mario Kart for the Switch, that game was like, that's been around for like forever, and they gave like new content, and it's really crazy that the Mario Kart 8, which became Mario 8 Deluxe on the Switch, when it came out on the Wii U, I think it had already been on that system for about maybe 4 years at least before it came over, because I don't think the Wii U lasted that long. I don't think the Wii U's lifespan was really that long. The Wii U was a great system, man. Nintendo they just made a lot of like just dumb decisions with it. They didn't market it well. They didn't take advantage of the unique feature as well as much as they should have, and developers certainly didn't for whatever reason. Being able to game on two screens and being able to take your screen controller somewhere else and play, they should have just let you use Wi-Fi. That would have really helped them. But sometimes Nintendo will spend like the least amount of money that they have to spend to get by. And this brings me to the technical aspects of their systems. I don't know why. Since the Super Nintendo was a powerful system. It had a really good chip in it. It's the sound chip. And Sony worked with them and they were actually planning to make a system together. That didn't happen. The N64 was a powerful system. I think the N64 came after the Super Nintendo. It was N64, and then and that was a powerful system, but the cartridges were so expensive, and developers didn't like putting games on the N64, which is why a lot of games didn't go on the N64. It was just expensive, and the games would suffer because of the cartridges being limited with the space that they had, and the Nintendo 64 games were more expensive too than the games that were on like the PlayStation. So the N64 was pretty powerful. They really pretty much set the stage with the 3D gaming with the Mario game that came out on it. Then the GameCube came out. The GameCube was a powerful system. The discs were really, there were small little like proprietary discs, and they had a bigger library on the GameCube, and I liked the form factor. It was a pretty small, cute little box you could just carry around. It had a little handle on it. I don't think that the GameCube got the support that the Xbox and the PlayStation. Was this a PlayStation? I think the PlayStation 2 was out at that time. So the GameCube was a pretty powerful system, but another thing, like you could have the disc, you could have like one game on like an Xbox disc or a PlayStation 2 disc, but on the GameCube it would be like two discs. But it was actually a pretty powerful system. They even had like some kind of internet connectivity. I think they had like some kind of broadband adapter, and you could connect systems together for multiplayer games. The GameCube was actually a pretty decent system. Some of those games have been ported over from the GameCube, like Wind Waker, Resident Evil 0, and the Resident Evil 1 remake, and Resident Evil 4. Metroid Prime debuted on the GameCube, and it ran really well. So after the GameCube, we got the Wii, which was, I don't know, I guess it was more powerful than the GameCube, and it had backwards compatibility, which the GameCube obviously lacked. You couldn't play the N64 games on the GameCube. You couldn't play the Super Nintendo games on the N64. I know they did have adapters where you could play like GameCube. I think you could play the Game Boy games on your GameCube. But anyway, the whole motion controls thing that the Wii introduced, I think Nintendo just, that generation, they just really stopped trying to compete with Microsoft and Sony and Sega, because the Dreamcast was like kind of like going away around that time. But they really weren't trying to compete technically with anyone. And I wish that they would, because I've seen like some games, some like creator, someone made a Mario game, and they like, when you see Mario walking around, and it's all like more realistic looking and stuff. I mean, I don't know if maybe Nintendo's trying to prove to us that you can have like really, really good games. You can take advantage, some real creative stuff you can do, and it doesn't always have to be about power. Because, one thing that we've learned, I think, in the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S generation is good graphics don't always mean that the game is going to be good. So Nintendo often uses stylized stuff, or they will optimize the games. I don't know if they're using magic, they stole alien technology, or they went to the future and came back with some shit, but their first party games tend to run and look phenomenal on their systems, and I think maybe they don't tell all the developers all the secrets. And that may be why a lot of developers just don't want to put the time and effort into putting their big AAA games on the Switch. Because the Switch didn't get like Street Fighter V, didn't get Street Fighter 6, it didn't get Call of Duty. I mean, I could just go on and on. So I just would really be, what would have made sense is for them to have done something with the dock for the Switch 2 to make it like really output better graphics and stuff. But that's just my opinion. That's what I would have done with the dock. But it's got 12 gigs of RAM. Whereas the Xbox Series S only has like 10 gigs of RAM, which I thought, I don't know, I was thinking it was more than that. But you need at least 16 gigs of RAM, I think, nowadays. I remember when I got my gaming PC, my gaming laptop, my MSI gaming laptop a few years ago, and I had to immediately upgrade it to 16 from 8 gigs. Because, even 16 gigs is barely enough nowadays to run a lot of games. But Nintendo, they're wizards, and they're using like newfangled technology that may make it so that the RAM might not be as much as an issue as it might have been 5 or 10 years ago. I guess we'll see. I know that Cyberpunk is running on it, and I want to get Cyberpunk on the Switch, because that would give me more incentive. I have Cyberpunk for the Series S, and I finished it. Actually, I bought Cyberpunk on the Xbox One, and I think that's where I finished it. But they patched the hell out of Cyberpunk, got it to run really well. Then later they added like some free stuff, free DLC. A lot of really cool stuff they added later. They still didn't add the wall running though, which they sort of false advertised. That Cyberpunk was like just a miracle, because that game came out, was buggy as hell. PlayStation pulled it from PlayStation Store for 6 months. They were losing a lot of money, the company, and then they overhauled the game and it came back. And then they added like, paid for DLC that basically gave you like a whole nother game. And the ending, I just really didn't like the ending that I got anyway. Maybe, I guess you get different endings. So I actually tried to go back and start playing through it. So when the Switch 2 comes out, and they said they put it all on 164 gig cartridge, so I might double dip and get that again and play through all this, play through the game again with all the stuff that they added. Even if we don't have wall running, at least we can still deflect bullets with the swords, which was really cool. So I already set aside money to get it. So I don't know. Maybe if I can't get one right now, I'll just wait until my birthday, or I definitely want to get it before Christmas time, because I know in the holidays it really is going to be impossible. I'm just glad we don't have to deal with DOS attacks now when new systems come out, because it used to be when a system would come out during the holidays, usually around November or December, that was always the time a system would come out, and you get the damn system at home and you couldn't play, you couldn't connect online, because people would just, these people that are like technical supervillains would just, they would just launch cyber attacks on Microsoft and PlayStation. Not so much Nintendo. It was usually Microsoft and Sony. I heard Microsoft just started hiring them, you know. So just can't beat them, give them jobs, right? So I'm just really feeling like they're not going to have enough for supply and demand. We'll see. They delayed the launch to make sure that everybody would be able to get one, supposedly. Allegedly, you know, they have a lot of the stores are saying that they will have enough for people can just walk in, but I'm not going to stand in line for no freaking 3 hours. I haven't done that shit since, I think the last time I stood in line for something really long might have been, like it might have been The Matrix, those Matrix movies, standing in line outside late at night. Sometimes I miss the 90s and the early 2000s. But anyway, I gotta get ready to start my shift and finish my coffee and my chocolate chip cookie. I just want to do a quick video, and my laptop actually didn't cut off on me, so I guess I was right about the storage. So that'll be the episode for now. I'll be back probably later this week with some reviews and stuff, some other things I want to talk about. But for now, I'm out. Take care. Until then.